Ето сме.
Ja smo, live. Oho. Vidi.
Да. Супер. Ево, здраво, Даре.
Ćao, Ana.
Помина долго време од како ти имавме и физички и виртуелно тука во Скопје. Да.
Boga mi bilo je...
Замина ти и дојде короната.
Tako je, 4 godine već, tako da, wow.
Да. Па супер. Здраво на сите што не гледате денеска. Со нас е Дарко Месарош, директно од АВС. Даре, ќе ни се представиш малку за тебе.
Ćao svima, ja sam Darko, ja sam, što kažu, developer advocate u AWS-u, dolazim iz Subotice, iz Srbije. Trenutno živim u Seattlu u Americi i eto, već ovaj posao radim 5 godina, tako ne, 4 godine kao developer advocate, ali ukupno 8 u Amazonu. Tako da, eto, hvala. Ovo je moj 3. put sa ovom user grupom, tako da jako lepo. Hvala.
Супер, те чекаме и во иднина. Прва прилика кога ќе можеш пак да ни дојдеш на гости. Дали во живо, дали виртуелно, секако. Тука си наш.
Tako je. Bolje je uvek uživo, tako da kad god bude pokazala prilika, radi bi došao u Skopje da malo vidim ljude. Ajde vidim Skopje.
Па супер. Обавезно. Ќе правиме една кафана.
Nego šta, apsolutno.
Јас ти должам кафана уште од пред 3 години.
Obavezno.
Да.
Pa super. Ništa, there's a question, hi there, are you muted intentionally?
Не, беше само на YouTube стиснато копчето, така да. Да.
Okay, and AWS user Marin pita gde je kapa. So, Marin mi je na reinventu ove godine doneo crnogorsku kapu. Marine, kapa mi je u drugoj sobi. Tako da nije na glavi, ali dobro. Hvala za kapu.
Супер, штом бевме мјутирани, ако може само уште еднаш да се представиш и може да започнеме?
Može. Ja ću danas da pričam manje više na engleskom, čisto da bih mogli sve da, svi da me dobro razumeju, pošto ne govorim dobro po makedonski, a srpski možda, ni srpski mi nije više tako dobar, s obzirom da ne živim kući već 12 godina. So I'm gonna switch to English now. It's gonna be easier for me and for everybody else here. So, hi, my name is Darko. I am what they call a developer advocate these days. I happen to work for AWS or Amazon Web Services, and as a developer advocate, I get to yell into this camera for money. I get to teach you stuff about the cloud, stuff about open source, stuff about generative AI, and anything else in between. And I've been here for 8 years at Amazon, 4 years as a developer advocate, and I've been having a lot of fun, to be honest. So thank you so much for having me around.
Океј, пред да започнеме, значи Даре денес ќе ни испрезентира неколку интересни работи од светот на AI и на крајот презентацијата ќе имаме отворено 15 минути за Q&A session, кој што може да поставиме прашања на нашиот гостин. Фала ти, Даре, уште еднаш. Welcome aboard and можеш да започнеш.
Hvala Ana. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's actually kick it off. I actually have some quote unquote slides. So sharing the entire screen. I'm gonna do a couple of things. Okay, so I have some slides, quote unquote slides. They're gonna be very simple. It's only 8 of them. I'm not gonna bother you with too much information. If you have any questions throughout this presentation, I can see the chat coming from YouTube. So please do say hello in chat, say drop a like or anything else. I'd love to answer these things. I want to make this discussion as interactive as possible, so do not be shy. This is all for you, and it's not for me. So let's talk about why is everybody talking about generative AI? No, really. Why is everybody talking about generative AI? It's been kind of like stuffed into our heads over the last year. Generative AI this, generative AI that, Copilot this, ChatGPT that, Code Whisperer, Bedrock. All of these things are being just kind of thrown at us as developers, as builders, and why is everybody talking about it? What's the big deal about it? I'm gonna try to tease you with some of the values of generative AI, why you should care about generative AI as a developer, as a builder, and also, well, actually, let me get into my thing here. So, first of all, who am I? I already told you this. Darko, developer advocate, Seattle, United States, all originally from Serbia. Subotica. Feel free to reach out to me through any of the social medias out there. I think I'm available on all of them. If you have any questions, if you want to just chat, if you want to comment, whatever, I'm open to discussions. I actually used to cover this part of the world where Macedonia is and Serbia and Central Eastern Europe. So I used to be relatively common in that part of the world, but almost 3 years ago, I moved to the United States. So, well, there you go. Okay, agenda. Let's talk about number one, what generative AI is not. That's going to be the first comment, first thread I want to take you through today, because we have an opinion what is generative AI, and well, there's a lot of things it is and a lot of things it's not. Let's talk about how you, developers, builders, coders, engineers, can use or should use or work with generative AI. How do you work with generative AI in the cloud? Well, how do you benefit from the big old cloud thing out there to actually utilize or, well, have some benefit from generative AI? And also, how can you use generative AI at home? So if you do not want to pay money for generative AI, if you do not wish to be restricted by an internet connection, I'm going to teach you at the end of this how you can use generative AI at home. So, what generative AI is not? Number one, generative AI is not easy. It is a very complex topic. It is a thing that we started to take for granted as users of generative AI, as consumers. You go over to ChatGPT, you ask a question, you get something back. You go to Stability AI, you get an image. You go to Bedrock, you get something else. So those things are kind of like, they're already just here and you don't really think about it too much. But actually, generative AI is way harder than just that. It takes a lot of resources and a lot of effort for you to, number one, build generative AI, number two, train generative AI, and number three, well, host generative or serve generative AI. So here's a question to the people in the chat. A very important question. How long does it take to train a Llama 2 model? Llama 2 is a model coming from our friends over at Meta, Facebook. And it is I cannot call it open source because there's a whole thing about its open sourceness, but it's one of those models that you can just take, use, look at its code, look at its training set, all that fun stuff. You can run it wherever you want with specific caveats. So it is a relatively common model out there, but let me ask you, the people in the chat, how long do you think it takes to train this model? So you start from scratch, you get the model algorithms, you get their data. How long would it take you, take me, take Anna, to train this model? I want to hear the comments. I want to hear the ideas. What do you think, Anna? How long does it take to train this model?
Ајде, дечки, може да давате предлози во коментари. Use Google. Use ChatGPT to give. Ask ChatGPT to give you your answer.
Exactly. Yeah. So the thing here is, it takes. Well, I haven't even talked about there's a lot of more details to just the Llama 2 model. What model? How many parameters? Is it 13 billion parameters or 70 billion parameters? Are we talking about training this thing on one GPU, 2 GPUs, 5 GPUs, 11 GPUs, thousands of GPUs? All of those things matter when it comes to training models. So to train a Llama 2 13 billion parameter, the smaller model, on, and I'm just going to put this out there, thousands of GPUs, thousands of actually like really good, high, very expensive NVIDIA GPUs, not your home gaming GPUs, it takes a couple of months, around 2 months, to just train this model. So from nothing, for it to be created, to be ready to be served, it takes around 2 months. And in the world of 2024, you can either use the cloud for that, or nothing else. I mean, unless you're Meta, unless you're Amazon, unless you're a company with a lot of compute resources stored locally and a lot of GPUs also available, you're probably not going to train this at home. So even running it in the cloud, in a parallel, hyperpod type of training, it takes around 2 months to train this model. So it is not easy. It is not easy, and it is expensive. It is expensive for you to do these things. You can imagine
even
how much.
ChatGPT didn't give me a short answer
Of course.
regarding this question.
Of course, it's not an easy thing to answer, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, let me ask. I can't ask. Can I ask ChatGPT here? What's the fastest way to do it? Let's actually do it. I'm gonna open up my slides in Vim, and no, that's not gonna work.
Slides in Vim. This is like
Slides
the
in Vim, yes.
most hardcore thing I have ever seen. So
That's how you do it. It's not only slides in Vim, Anna. It's also I can do ChatGPT in Vim. ChatGPT and how long does it take to train a model? Oops, no, come on again. That's not as easy as it seems. Okay, ChatGPT. How long does it take to train a Llama 2 model from scratch? So again, it's gonna give me a big old answer depending on what. It can take anywhere from a few hours to a few. Exactly, it's gonna take months. It's gonna take a very long time, and you shouldn't do this, right? You should not train your own models. It's not a thing you should be doing, because unless it's your business, to train a model from scratch, unless you're building a model, unless you're AI21 Labs or Anthropic or Meta or Amazon or Mistral, you shouldn't ultimately be doing this. So there's a comment here. From Anastasios. Yeah. Anastasios, what if I want to train on existing model with my project domain documentation? Yes. Okay, so Anastasios, that is something called fine-tuning. And I'll explain fine-tuning as well today. But fine-tuning is a way for you to get around training the model completely from scratch. And I'll give a couple of examples when it comes to working with your individual data and large language models in a bit. So thank you. Excellent point. I'm going to come back to this. So it's hard. Generative AI is hard. It's not easy. Second thing that generative AI is not, it's not coming for your jobs. And I know there's been this whole discussion about, oh no, it's gonna, generative AI is gonna take away all of the stuff I know. I'm a developer, I can build code, I can do this. No, it's not. I've been working in the cloud for the last 8 years, and cloud has existed for, well, the concept of the cloud existed for a longer time, but let's say the mid 2000s, right? The mid 2000s is when Amazon kicked off, when we started doing stuff, when a bunch of other things also started happening. Even to this day, you're having a very hard time convincing some people that the cloud is the way to go. So companies, people, developers, engineers still are doubtful of the cloud, and I get that. It's a technology. It's not even a new thing anymore. But you are giving trust of your intellectual property or whatnot to somebody else. Even though that we have all the safety measures in place, all of the controls in your hand, still people are not thinking, well, not trusting it fully. The same goes for generative AI. Even though generative AI can do a lot of things, even though it can generate a bunch of really good code, people are not just gonna let generative AI build for themselves. So there's a fine line you need to walk. I'm gonna say, as developers, as engineers, as builders, what generative AI is gonna do for you, instead of taking your job, it's gonna make you better at your job. That's the whole thing. It's gonna raise the bar. It's gonna raise the bar on what you can do. So similar to the way in the past, when in 1996, is it 1996 or 1998? I don't know. 1998, when Google was launched, right? Before that, the only way to get through Google is just get a book or go to the library or ask somebody. It took a longer time to figure stuff out, read the documentation. Since Google came in, you can just search for things. And voila, you have an answer, kind of, sort of. The same goes for this. Instead of Googling for stuff now, you're going to just ask a model, ask a large language model to say, hey, what about this? What about that? So yeah, AI is definitely not coming to get your jobs. At least not in my opinion, but we'll see how about that. Now, what generative AI is not, again, it's not hype. Now, I know there's been a lot of hype technologies throughout the years, specifically lately with all of the crypto boom and Web3 and NFTs. A lot of this was very hyped, but generative AI is not that. Generative AI on the onset has a value. It has intrinsic value to you as a developer. Now, for the folks in chat, has anybody here ever used, is there anybody in chat has never used generative AI? Like, you have not touched it, you have not worked with it, you have not opened up ChatGPT, you have not used Bedrock, you have not used Code Whisperer, you have not used Copilot. If there's somebody like that, please do raise your hand. Because most of us have. We've tried it, we've played with it, we've seen its value. So there is direct value for us immediately from generative AI. Now, are some of the features of generative AI or some of the capabilities overblown? Of course they are. That's what people talk about all the time. That's just what happens. But the core of it, the most important thing is still there. The ability to generate content that can be very useful, very productive, and, well, can save you a lot of time. And that's the whole thing. You're saving a lot of time with generative AI. Opinion about Devin. Okay, so I've saw Devin, and Devin is this kind of a AI developer that can solve problems for you, that can search through documentation, solve issues, troubleshoot. It seems very good. It seems very good. I don't know how that's gonna work in practice. There's a lot of nuance about programming. Like, programming development is more than just writing code. There's a lot more nuance there. I'm gonna just use the standard thing. People management, people skills. Like, when people ask you to build a thing, you're not gonna just do it. You're gonna fight them on it. Of course you are. Because no, I'm not gonna do that. That's a stupid idea. So there's a lot more to than just writing really good code. And also, again, giving trust of your intellectual property to something to fully control it, not just be an assistant or support you. I don't think that's coming anytime soon. So, but yeah, I have not played with Devin. I've not tried it myself, so I don't really know. But I am of an opinion that that's a very cool thing. That's a very amazing use of this technology. How far that's going to take us, I have no idea. But okay, we are in the spicy part of discussions about generative AI. So I'm gonna do one more thing what generative AI is not, and I'm gonna move on from that. What generative AI is not? It is not correct. Always. Sometimes you will ask generative AI a question, and it's gonna give you a stupid answer. And it's gonna give you a stupid answer in such a way that you think it's correct. It's gonna give you this super confident, thoroughly thought out answer that is absolute bullshit. It's mansplaining. It's basically mansplaining. You ask it a question and it gives you this wonderful answer that it feels and it looks like a complete 100% true, but it's not. And it's not intentional. It's just, it doesn't have the additional information. If you understand how large language models work, you will understand why this is happening. So a large language model, generative AI, the way it works is every time it sees a word, it produces a word, it predicts what should be the next word. That's it. So when you see your ChatGPT or Bedrock just type out the response, the typing out is not for visual effect. It's literally just doing it. It's predicting the next word. So yeah, if it doesn't have the data, sometimes it can just answer with something that's not absolutely correct. Actually, let me show you something. I want to show you something. I have a little application here. I'm going to explain this application in a second, but here's an example of generative AI being silly. So I'm invoking a Llama 2 70 billion parameter model on Amazon Bedrock. I want to ask it a question. Now, if I ask it a question that's something realistic, like how do I do this, or what is the capital of that, yada, yada, yada. But if I just do something like hello world, sometimes it gives me a stupid answer. Why? I don't know. It's because it's you don't know. Okay, it gave me some Python. This is a Python code that uses NumPy and matplotlib to plot random noise on a graph. Okay, that's not what I want. I asked it hello world. Okay, let me do it again. Hello world. Okay, what is this? Okay. I don't know how far this is gonna go, but it starts to produce a bunch of tests, or whatever this thing is. So, yeah, it's not correct. It's not always correct. It is also non-deterministic. So, what generative AI is not? It is not deterministic. A lot of the times, it is very hard to get what you want out of it. Like, not you will not always get the same results back. That is the thing. You don't know, like if you pass a query to a database with the same SQL statement, you will always get the same data if the data exists. If you pass the same question to generative AI, you may get a different answer. Of course, there are some parameters you can tweak and tune to make that a little bit less potentially, but still, it's non-deterministic. Like anytime I do a demo with generative AI, I'm scared. I don't know what's going to come out because it may be cool. It may be something really bad. I always say this example. I did a live stream like a year ago. We had a generative AI model built specifically to generate anime. Right? It was great. Amazing. It generates anime characters. Wonderful. The challenge there was anytime it wanted to generate female anime characters, and that was not safe for work. I had to hide my screen immediately because you get a lot of very suggestive photos or drawings of anime characters because it was trained on such a bad data set. Exactly. So like, I didn't know it was gonna do that. I kind of sometimes it's a good image, sometimes something very fair and like actually looks like really good, safe for work anime. Sometimes it's not very safe for work. So yeah, not deterministic, definitely. Okay, let's go back. What is the next topic? Let's talk about generative AI for you, the developers. How do you use generative AI as a developer, as a builder, as an engineer? What are the tools you can use? And actually, not even just how can you use it for yourself, but how can you build with it? I'm going to cover a couple of things here when it comes to those things. So, generative AI for developers comes in two fashions. Number one, as a tool that's useful for you to build other things. And number two, as something you use as part of your tool. As part of your application, as part of your project, as part of your whatever you're building, right? So let's start with the first one. Let's start first with you as a developer. How do you use generative AI to help you build? Well, the simplest answer here would be something like... What did I show here? I've showed you ChatGPT here. Oh, come on, you can do this. I have to decrypt my ChatGPT API key. But you can always use ChatGPT or whatever model you want and ask it a question and say, what is the capital of Mongolia? Right, and it will give you potentially a good answer. You can always say, okay, I need what do I need? I need an array. Sorry, a Rust vector, which is an array of all the European countries. This seems like a very simple thing, but for example, sometimes I need data for my application, and it's going to create me all of these things. Like it's going to create a little array that I can use for testing and playing around with. Wonderful, right? That's a simple way to do it. Just asking questions, getting some stuff back. Cool. But what about if we take it the next step further? And I have to use VS Code for this case because VS Code. It's currently not supported in Vim, but let me talk to you about something called Code Whisperer. Code Whisperer is your coding associate, coding companion. It is a tool that helps you write better code. And here's an example of some code. Now, this is an application I built a long time ago. When I say a long time ago, I think like it's been 6 months. And I built it completely using Code Whisperer. So this is an application it's a command line application that takes computers, like computer names and like model year and manufacturer. I collect old computers, so this is kind of a thing. And it stores them in a DynamoDB database. And I wrote it completely by using Code Whisperer. Now, the way Code Whisperer works here is it takes your existing code here, or even if it's a blank file, it takes your existing code and it takes the comment you give it and generates the code for that, right? So let's have a look here. So what I have here is a class, an object of a computer. The class has parameters and it has a couple of these default methods. I want to create a method, a function that's gonna convert the name, I don't know, the model or the manufacturer. Let's do model. Convert the model to lowercase. Okay, so how can I do that? I potentially could start with def and do something, right? But I can do a comment here. Create a method that converts the model to lowercase. Hit enter. Hopefully, boom. There you go. There's a function that does that. Amazing. This saved me a bunch of time. Now, I could have figured this out myself, probably. I could have Googled it. I could have done stuff, but why? This doesn't bring any value to me. I understand what the code does here. It's a self-model, model.lower. Beautiful. Love it. I love that. We can go extra. Let's do create a method that converts a year to an integer. Why not? Because Python is not a strongly typed language. Let's see what we'll do. Self, boom, there you go. Nice. Okay, beautiful. We can do even something more advanced. Let's see. We have a function entry. We have a pretty print. Let's say, so this thing is going to be storing. Are we storing? Yes, we are storing. Are we storing stuff to a DynamoDB database? Let's see. We have a connection to a DynamoDB table. We have storing DB. Okay, cool. So here's the storing the database, the computers inside of the database. So let's do a function. Load all the computers from the database using all the computers from the database, but all the computers. Let's load all the computers from all the same manufacturer from the DynamoDB database and make sure to print them out nicely. Okay, let's see what's gonna happen here. Okay, def load from database, manufacturer. Okay, beautiful. What is the next code? It's thinking.
So it's really important to know how to pop up the question. So if you don't know how to give a question, then you'll get a different answer every time.
Exactly. And what Anna is saying this right now is called prompt engineering. Prompt engineering, and this comment here is basically a prompt. It's what you are prompting. You're asking the question to a large language model. The better the question, the better the response. So as you can see here, I gave it a kind of a relatively okay question, but it understands my code base, so it knows how to establish a connection. It knows I have a client there. It knows where to get my table name from a config because I set it up in the past, and it actually knows how to read these things and print stuff out. Nice, beautiful. Let me give you an example of a good prompt. So here's a prompt I've written for this thing, and it's relatively long, right? You see the big prompt. The prompt says, store the computer in an AWS DynamoDB table, get the name from the config DB name variable, and also check if the table exists. If the table does not exist, inform the user and give them instructions on how to create the table. Okay? So what this thing does, it creates a function, establishes a connection to the client, to DynamoDB, attempts to write something to a database, right? If it exists, it returns, oh, by the way, this computer already exists. If the table doesn't exist, if resource not found exception, it's going to say, hey, table not found. Please create a table with the following command. And it gives you an AWS CLI command to create this table. And it, of course, raises this error exception. Wonderful. It's such a wonderful little thing. The more information you can give it, sometimes you're super surprised how well it works. Sometimes it doesn't work really well. So one of the things you will notice here, and so far my demo has been really good, but sometimes when you ask it a kind of a question, it doesn't know what to do, and it will not do anything. So you have to rephrase your question. So let me see what can I do? Something complicated. Let's say a function that will take the computer and get its image from the internet and store it somewhere locally. So okay, get image self. Let's see if this is going to work. Yeah, so it said just return. It didn't know what to do, right? So it's not really that good. So what you can do here is say get the image from the internet using request library and store it locally. Let's see if this is going to work. Delete it again. Okay, get image, pass. It didn't know what. Sometimes you just have to do it again. Let's see, pass. Nope, it doesn't want to do it. I think I do option C to regenerate, or option S. No, there's a way to do it. Shift option C. There is. See, I don't know. Sometimes you just have to do it. Like maybe is that a method? A method? Maybe that would work. Let's see. Okay. Pass. Okay, it just doesn't want to do it. So yes, our generative AI overlords are not here to take our jobs just yet. It's sometimes it doesn't know all the things. Now, of course, you can improve this by writing a really good prompt, like your explanation. Like, okay, I want you to use a request library to go to the internet on this page and find an image of this computer by using its name and model number. Then store this somewhere locally, for example, in the temp directory, blah, blah. Giving it a bit more details and what you want it exactly to do, it's going to be better. Unless it's something super simple, but this is something that you can definitely use to kind of make sure you do a better job. Okay, that's one way to use it.
Yeah.
Anna, have you used
I always
Copilot?
Copilot, Code Whisperer. I tend to try it out for Terraform. I can see it has a support for Terraform. It's in top 5 support languages that's used with Code Whisperer, and
Yes.
I think it will be great in collaborative environment where you work alongside with developers, and sometimes you have Python, TypeScript, CDKs, Terraform, all things in a legacy code. So I think it will be really, really useful to kind of help out in such mixed teams, for example. So
I agree.
this will be a challenge for me.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
So I have not seen this work with Terraform, or maybe I have to save this as a Terraform file. So
it's already saved. I can see the
Okay, so create a VPC with 2 public subnets and 1 private one. Okay, let's see if something module VPC. Okay, you can do it. Boom. All right, look at that.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I like that. Now, let me show you something more, Anna. When we're in the concept of Terraform. So, Party Rock is a tool. It's a thing. I'm not sure if people have heard about Party Rock here, but Party Rock is basically a way to build applications with generative AI using generative AI. So you basically give it a description of an application, and it's gonna build it to an extent. Now, it can be something like haiku generator, like a tour guide or a podcast generator, or something silly like that. But when it comes to Terraform, I've actually built an application, Anna, that uses generative AI and to create Terraform. So instead of you just
Nice.
writing comments, so I can give you the description of what I need. So I need an EC2 instance running Windows. It needs to be in a VPC with 2 public and 1 private subnet. Make sure the port 80 is open. Come on, open. There you go. Also create one DynamoDB table called AWS user groups and SQS queue named Anna. Okay, so what this is going to do is going to take this input and it's going to generate Terraform code for me. And it is actually pretty good. As I say that, I hope it fails. So we have a good laugh. But what it does, it actually does all of those things. Creates a VPC, creates a subnet, 1, 2, and private. It creates an internet gateway, all the scaffolding you need for a good VPC, route tables, all of those things, route table associations, security groups, allowing port 80. Nice. Creates a Windows EC2 instance. It actually picks an AMI that is a Windows instance. It creates a DynamoDB table called AWS user groups, and it also creates a SQS queue called Anna. Wonderful. Now I've added also another thing here just for kicks. It does Pulumi as well, so it can create Pulumi code as well. So there you go. It is relatively similar. I don't know too much of Pulumi, so if anybody in chat knows Pulumi, they can tell me if this is good or not. But looks okay, I guess. But yeah.
Pulumi, but which language?
This looks like TypeScript or JavaScript.
TypeScript?
Yeah, TypeScript. Yeah. So, yeah, JavaScript or TypeScript, whatever they used. Yeah. So looks correct to me. So yes, you can use this, like you can build applications that help you do this. Of course, PartyRock is usually more used for like silly applications, but you can absolutely do better things. I have a little called the DynamoDB CRUD API gateway integration. CRUD is create, read, update, and delete. Basically, you can have these integrations in the API gateway. API gateway in itself can create, update, and delete. Create, read, update, and delete elements in a DynamoDB table, and you need to create these big like templates to do that. So what you can do here is you can say DynamoDB table is AWS user groups. Partition key name is going to be user. Partition short key name is going to be location, and additional attributes we're going to say age, job, favorite color. What this thing is going to do is going to generate these templates for me, and in a second it's going to start generating. Here's a mapping for creating an item with the specific things I've asked. Nice. Here's a good looking little map. Second one, it's gonna do something similar. Look at that. This one is for getting an item. This is for updating an item, and the final one is for deleting an item. Pretty cool. Again, you can build this right now. And what I can do here is I can come and actually let me go back to my Terraformer. I can share this with you. I can.
It's really fast, by the way.
It's really good. Now I put the link in the chat. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, I put the link in the chat, and you can just go and open it and just generate Terraform for yourself if you want. So simple as that. So as developers, as builders, you have a lot of things you can use generative AI with to help you. Okay, I'm gonna move on because I see we're like at 40 minutes already. I've been talking too much, Anna. Okay, so. As developers, let me talk to you about how you can use this thing in the cloud with some more information. And I'm going to answer Anastasios' question here about training a model with existing or project domain specific data. So a service such as Amazon Bedrock. Amazon Bedrock is a service that basically gives you the ability to interact, fine-tune, and, well, work with foundation models. So be that your Jurassic models or Titan models or Claude or Cohere or Llama or Mistral or Stable Diffusion, it allows you to work with these models. And not just like using them. You can absolutely use them here in the chat. You can, just play around with and ask it a question, right? How many numbers is there in pi, right? It can give you these answers, but that's not how you use it. You use it programmatically. You use it by using an SDK. So building things with these models is now simpler than ever. Because remember, generative AI is hard. It takes a lot of GPUs. It takes a lot of effort for you to run, train, host, and anything else around the model. Why do that when it's something can be just as a simple as an API call away? And Marin is asking, can you do it in our language? Let's do it. Yeah. So that's also one of the fascinating things about large language models is they know languages. Like, you can ask it in, I would imagine, most of the languages in the world. Probably, here's my test for generative AI. I ask it to drop slang. Just give me slang. And if it's correct, if it seems fine, that's how I judge it to be good. So I'm going to ask it in Serbian to tell me 10 Serbian slang words. And I'm going to probably do it in Macedonian as well. Well, I'm going to ask it for 10 Macedonian words. But you're going to have to tell me if that's good or not.
Okay.
Okay, in Serbian. Oko. Daj mi 10 popularnih srpskih slang reči. Okay, let's see. Evo 10 popularnih srpskih slang reči. Džir, munjen, riba, ležern, mamlaz, mustra, štrebati, zapeniti, šipnuti i škart. Da, ja, ovo sve deluje tačno, realno. Sad ja ne znam koliko ljudi, I don't know how much people use džir. To be honest, I never used the word džir as a problem. Džir for me was a circle. Or something like let's go do it another time, but yeah. Ove reči su česte u neformalnom svakodnevnom govoru, posebno među mladima u Srbiji. Mnoge od njih su specifičan srpski žargon i žargon bivših Jugoslovenske republike. Ok. A sada mi daj 10 žargona iz Makedonije.
Mustra policajac.
Mustra policajac. 10 popularnih žargonskih iz Makedonije. Ajde, brate. Actually. Is actually a thing? I never heard
Actually. Ne znam super.
Ne znam, ok. Furka. Ok. Inati, maljav.
Muabet, da.
Ok.
Brate, to je na
Brate,
srpski.
of course. Da. Zezanje. Ok, I mean, yeah, it's not actually 100%, but that's the thing.
Da.
Like, models speak all the languages, kind of. So, ajde sad mi to napiši na makedonskom. Evo 10 popularnih žargonskih izraza Makedonija na makedonski jezik. Bre, bra, mogu, vrzan, drma, inat, ležnik, muabet, begam, reket, ej, zezanje. Pa eto.
Amazon Bedrock failed.
So yeah, it is the thing about the models. They speak different languages, and it can be useful for some people who are not. For example, now you are a developer, but you're not really good at English for some reason, which is kind of normal. You can use these things in your own language to get actual responses. So I can ask it in Serbian, like, and to be honest, I don't use Serbian in such a technical fashion, but u programskom jeziku Rust, kako da kreiram neki vektor koji je poređan po abecednom redu. Okay. I'm really interested if it's gonna, u Rustu možete kreirati vektor koji se po abecednom redu koristi sort metodu. Yeah, it even gives me like code and comments in Serbian, which is so weird. Like, not just code and comments, but even like the elements of a vector is banana, jabuka, ananas, kruška i trešnja. So like, it doesn't just get code from somewhere else and gives you that. It actually gives you banana, jabuka, ananas, kruška, and trešnja, which is kind of fascinating for me. So yeah. In any case, so how do you work with this? What's the deal with it? How do you implement this thing in your application? Well, as anything on AWS, this is an API call. And to make this API call, let me actually show this to you. So if I go back to Claude, I'm going to select Anthropic, Claude 3, and here is how an API request looks like. It is just a JSON object with the model name, a bunch of scaffolding, and the model body. The body, again, gives a specific version of Anthropic and the messages. Here, the message would be this. This is the question I would pass it on. And then it responds to you programmatically with a response. So I've actually built an application, the one that I've showed you in the past. I called it Bedrust. This is it's just a Rust application that uses Bedrock. Nothing special. I made this in the last couple of months just to learn Rust. I'm not an expert in Rust by any means, but I built this to learn Rust. So I'm going to put the link in the chat if folks want to go check it out. But ultimately, I'm going to show you a bit of code here. Where is it? Okay, so I think this is the best way to do it. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to show you how this kind of works. Let's see. Vim, so,
Dara, do you think that maybe Bedrock is a more sophisticated version for what it used to be Amazon Lex, maybe? Because with Lex you would create chatbots, but now that you have Bedrock with AI plus.
So yeah, absolutely. That's one of the features. The thing about foundation models is that they can be whatever you want them to be. Like Mari mentioned here, it gets even crazier when you hook agents. Agents are something that's crazy complex, not complex, it's crazy insane what they can do. Agents can actually run commands and trigger functions, trigger things based on your instructions. So absolutely, you can go way beyond the just a chatbot like Lex. Lex is a good chatbot, but this gives you a lot more opportunities. And of course, it requires a lot more responsibility from your end. So there's a couple of things that you need to think about when you're using a foundational model like Claude to be your chatbot. But absolutely, you can do that. And that's one of the most common demos being created out there is just chatbot using a foundation model. But yeah. So just let me quickly show you something here. So Claude v3. Like this, I'm going to show you a couple of some code. You don't have to worry about what the code exactly is, but in essence, when I'm making the call to a model, I'm basically generating a call that takes all of those elements you've seen me show you in this JSON object, all of these things, and it creates an actual call from them. So this is it, and I have a thing here where it takes all the elements, all of the parameters, the question I ask it, and it is actually here. Yes, and it takes all of these things within this body and puts it in this JSON object. Now, with Rust, I serialize this into JSON, and literally at the end, when I make the call, I just pass it the JSON object. That's it. And then Claude responds to me by sending me another JSON object back with the data I want. I want to say simple as that, but it's as simple as that. Depending on your language of choice, it may be complicated. If you hate yourself, you're probably going to use Rust like me because it's just way too complicated, more complicated than Python, but it's nice. So yeah, and like I'll give you another example of what I've used this project for. And I have not finished it yet. As you can see, I have a little a Git branch here called image captioning. I've modified my application to caption images. That means it creates descriptions for images. For example, for accessibility features. When you host an image on a website, if people with low vision want to see what's on your website is, they have like screen readers which will read the description or a caption of an image. So what I've did here is I've done this. So where it is, let's do this, and then I will do -c TMP test images. So what I'm doing here is I'm passing it a directory full of images. Well, it has 6 images. What it's going to do, it's going to take those images, pass it on to a generative AI model with a specific prompt. It takes an image and tells it, hey, please generate me a caption for this image for accessibility purposes. Do not use more than 100 words. And now it's passing all of these 6, 7 images, I don't even know how much, to the model, and once it's done, it's going to produce an array of descriptions. So ultimately, somewhere down the line, I can use this as a nice little tool that can help optimize accessibility on a website or on a presentation or whatnot. You could have kind of done this in the past with recognition, but this has a lot more flexibility to it. As you can see here, the first description is a close-up image of a computer, CPU, heatsink, and cooling fan, blah, 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 blah. Beautiful, right? And the beauty about this, I can use different models. I can use Claude. I can use the smaller Haiku model, which is way faster. So if I do this, you will see that the images are gonna go by a lot faster here. Well, this is happening. Anastasios, I want to show you something. There's an option on Amazon Bedrock, specifically on Bedrock, to include your additional domain-specific knowledge inside of your models. There's two options to this, as of now. You can either create a custom model. Custom model is basically fine-tuning a specific model, right? You can choose, for example, I can take Llama 2, and I can give it specific data. I can give it a folder, a bucket with a bunch of different data, a whole data set of my data. It needs to be in a specific data set format, right? So it has to potentially have this sort of a format, or if you're talking about images or embedding. So this is the type of data set that you need. And then you set up a bunch of hyperparameters, and then you train it. Now, this training takes slightly longer. It's not like 2 months, but it takes a while. And it will create a custom model for you on your AWS account that you can use, with a couple of caveats. Number one, this is a bit more expensive than running your traditional base models on Bedrock. That's just a given. So if you need this, it's a bit expensive. It is really fast. It's going to get you all the information you need, but it is slightly expensive. How much does it cost? I have no idea. The reason is you have to purchase provision throughput. You basically have to provision throughput for this specific model. That means it's not on demand. You have to constantly just kind of like have some provision throughput paid. And I don't know, it's like a commitment term. I would actually tell people to shy away from using a custom model unless they absolutely need it. If you're looking to make a chatbot that's gonna do some document searches or whatnot, there's better ways to do that. If you want to train a model with specific data, this is great, but just keep in mind it's going to be slightly more expensive than just using the foundation models. The better option here would be something called a knowledge base. A knowledge base it's something that it's a term people use. It's called RAG, R-A-G, so Retrieval Augmented Generation, which means it works like this. When you ask a question to a model, you say, "What is the capital of Mongolia?" It takes that question, looks in itself, looks within the model, within the data it has, and it spits something out. A knowledge base works slightly different. When you create a knowledge base, you basically create a database of your own data. What happens here, when you invoke a model, the model first takes your input and generates a response or context from your data. So if you dump a bunch of PDF files, a bunch of text, whatever, into this, it's going to take those things inside of a database, a vector database, and it's going to return them as context. And then it's going to give that context to the main model and say, provide me an answer to the above question using this context. And it can use your data to do so. So this is a really great way, a more cost-efficient way for you to actually get good, correct data out of a large language model with your specific things.
So maybe like a manual instructions for people who want to know more about a product, for example. How
Absolutely.
it works, or
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let me give you another example here. So Amazon Q, it's a service in preview. It's like a chatbot that uses generative AI. It's kind of it's still not there yet. You will see that there's a lot of issues with it. But one of the things you can do is you can create your own Q application. A Q application is your own chatbot, but it uses generative AI. And it's kind of like this whole nice integrated way to build it. With one additional thing, you can add a data source. A data source is any sort of data source that you can kind of attach to it, anything from Amazon S3 to an actual file to even like Gmail or Google Drive or Microsoft Teams. You can attach these things to it, and it can get data from you for that. What I've added here, I have this chatbot, and I've attached it to my website. So if you go to my website, you will see basically, yeah, it's my website, whatever, my little blog with some posts and whatnot. I've attached Q to this. I told Q, hey, scrape this website for data. Now, when I go in Q and I ask it a question, I will say, who is Darko? Right? And hopefully it should know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think it knows because it's thinking too much. So it's gonna get Darko is a principal developer advocate based in and it actually gives you the source where it got that data. So if you had like a tool, a product, something you want people to be able to work with, this is a neat way to connect it to that. So yeah, it is a fascinating thing. It's a there's so much things you can do with generative AI. It's not just asking what the capital of Mongolia is, but you can actually fine tune it with additional data. You can also like augment it with retrieval augmented generation, and you can also use something like Q in this case. Martin is asking, is it backed by Titan? I don't know, to be honest. I don't think we disclose that. I don't really know what Q is backed by. It's one of the models. Is it going to be Titan? Is it going to be Claude? Is it going to be Llama? I don't really know. So I don't know if we actually even disclose that anywhere. So it's a model somewhere in the back, and that's about it. That's about as much as I know. So yeah. Okay. Whew. We're there. Okay. Promise one more thing, Anna. I know we have to wrap up soon, but I promised one more thing to the chat. I promised. Where are my slides? So slide. So I promised one more thing. I promised how to use the cloud at home, not the cloud. How to use generative AI at home. So there's a tool. There's a project called Ollama. Ollama is a project. If you go Ollama is an open source tool that can help you run models locally. It runs models locally on your local machine using your own GPU, using your own CPU, and it is really good for a local thing. So let me actually show you. I'm gonna go back to my computer here, and this thing, this computer here is NeoFetch. This is a virtual machine running on a desktop computer underneath my desk, and it uses a CPU that is 4 generations old. So it's nothing special. It's like a few years old, has 16 gigs of RAM, has no GPU. But I can also use Ollama here. Let me see. Ollama. I have Ollama. Let's see. Ollama run. And I can do, what are the models it supports? Let's see. What are the models it supports? We can do Mistral. Mistral is a nice little model to run. So I can do Mistral. So what this is going to do, it's going to pull down the container, a Docker container from the internet, and execute Mistral locally. Depending on your configuration, it may be fast or it may be slow. Like I have no GPU here, so it's relatively slow, but it's also the same thing. So if I say, what is the capital of Mongolia? It's going to generate me this answer. So as you can see, it takes a second, but yeah, there we go. It works. This is one of the questions I have for people, is like, could you do development at home without the internet? If you use the language that doesn't require internet? If I had a model here like this, yes, absolutely. This can get me a lot of information on how to do stuff, right? How to write a vector in Rust. It's gonna give me stuff. Now, again, depending on your computer configuration, it may be faster, it may be slower, but it is able to run just on a CPU without the GPU. But if you have a GPU, it is way faster, way faster. So even if you have a relatively simple NVIDIA GPU from a couple of years ago, it's going to be way faster than just running it on a CPU. So if you want to use generative AI at home to help you do things, to help you build, Ollama is the way to go, and they support a plethora of models. And to be honest, I think you can use most of the models from Hugging Face on this one. But like if you decide to run a Llama 2 70 billion model, it's a 40 gigabyte model. And it's probably going to take all of your RAM away. So just so you know, be careful with the model you choose. Pick something like Mistral or even Orca Minis. They're really, really, really good. Oh boy, Anna, I think I'm done.
Right on time.
I'm
Yeah.
right on time. Yes, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
Do I have a thank you slide? I do. There we go.
Marin says, good, it's not Commodore 64.
Exactly. It's not a Commodore 64. I don't think it would run a Commodore 64, but yeah, it is able to run on some older hardware as well. So you don't really need the cutting edge thing. But that's also one of the things, my friends, here is that generative AI is new, but artificial intelligence is not. It has been here for a long time, and people have been working on it. What happened right now is that we had this boom in generative AI, in artificial intelligence, where it became this really powerful thing, and it, well, helps us a lot, and we all have tangible benefits from using generative AI or artificial intelligence in general. So yeah.
Yeah, you can do great stuff with it, but it depends how you approach it. I mean, if you approach it with, it will do stuff for me, I don't have to do anything, I don't think you will go to the right direction. So you will
Exactly.
get the answer, you will get the question as an answer from Stack Overflow or something like that.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So it's not an end all be all tool. It's not gonna take your job away and all that fun stuff. But you, as a developer, as a builder, should use generative AI to help you be better. Like even now, when I don't know a topic, I need to learn something new. Instead of Googling, I tend to go and ask Claude. Just ask it a question. Explain this to me. Explain this piece of code. It helps me learn. It helps me be good at my job.
Yeah, it's good for getting baselines, even if you don't have a certain answer for complicated functions or methods, for example. But it will
Correct.
give you like a baseline where to start.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I don't think we have question because I said to ask their question, but I don't see a question so far. So um, it's left just to say thank you. Фала ти много што дојде пак тука.
Нема на чему,
Што се
нема на
гледаме
чему.
после многу години, нели пак сме заедно тука. Ти си наш човек.
Него
Едва и те
шта.
чекаме да ни бидеш повторно гостин во живо во прва прилика кога ќе бидеш во можност да
Хоќу.
правиме една кафана и дружба со Авес User Group Македонија и со сите
Обовезно.
наши гости, да, и со многу интересни теми во иднина.
Hvala lepo. Thank you so much.
Da.
Anastasios, thank you so much for saying hello and thank you for all the questions. Ana, hvala puno. Baš mi je drago što sam imao priliku ovo da radim. Thank you so much. I hope to see you sometime soon in the future in person.
Hoping so. Фала ви на сите што бевте тука. Во следна прилика со интересни теми, повторно дали во живо или виртуелно, се гледаме во следниот митоп на АВС. Фала Дарио уште еднаш.
Нема на чему. Ciao.
Live long and prosper. Bye.
Live long and prosper. Hvala lepo.
Yeah. Bye guys. Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.